The government tells you 67 is your full retirement age. What they don't tell you is that number used to be 65, and raising it was, in plain dollar terms, a benefit cut. Not a conspiracy theory, not a guess, a documented, roughly 13% reduction in lifetime benefits for everyone affected by the change, baked quietly into law back in 1983. I'm going to show you exactly how that happened, why it's likely to happen again, and who it actually hurts the most, because it's not evenly spread across everyone. Welcome to Wealth Logic. My name is Clara Morgan. Let's get into it. The number that quietly moved. For most of Social Security's history, the full retirement age was 65. That's the number an entire generation grew up expecting. In 1983, Congress passed a law that gradually moved that number from 65 to 67. It didn't happen overnight. It phased in slowly over decades for anyone born in 1938 or later, finally landing at 67 for everyone born in 1960 or after. Here's the part that matters. Raising the full retirement age doesn't change when you're allowed to claim. You can still claim as early as 62. What it actually does is change the math, specifically how much your monthly check gets permanently reduced for claiming before that new, higher full retirement age. What this actually cost people. Let's make this concrete. When the full retirement age was 65, someone claiming at 62 still got 80% of their full benefit. Now that the full retirement age is 67, that same person claiming at 62 only gets 70% of their full benefit. On a $2,000 monthly benefit, that's the difference between $1,600 a month and $1,400 a month, every single month for the rest of that person's life. Researchers at the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities have calculated that this 1983 change effectively cut benefits by about 13% compared to what people would have received under the old 65 system. Every 1-year increase in the full retirement age works out to roughly a 7% cut in monthly benefits at any given claiming age. This wasn't framed to the public as, "we're cutting your benefits." It was framed as, "we're updating the retirement age." Same outcome, very different headline. Now, I want to be fair here because understanding why this happened actually makes the trap framing more serious, not less. In 1983, Social Security was facing a real funding shortfall. Raising the full retirement age was one of several changes made to shore up the system's finances. And the argument they gave was straightforward. People are living longer, so the program should pay out over a shorter window relative to a longer life. That argument isn't crazy. People genuinely do live longer than they did in 1935 when this program was designed. But here's where it gets uncomfortable. The part they don't advertise. The people are living longer argument sounds fair on the surface. It is not evenly true. Research has shown that while average life expectancy at 65 has increased since 1983, that increase has been wildly uneven. For the bottom half of earners, the people who often need Social Security the most, longevity has barely moved at all. Some studies show it's hardly increased for this group, even before the pandemic. So think about what that means. The retirement age went up for everyone equally, but the people whose life expectancy actually justified that change, higher earners, generally in less physically demanding jobs with better healthcare access, are the ones who benefit from working a few extra years before claiming. Lower earners, often in physically harder jobs with shorter life expectancies, simply lose more years of benefits they were counting on without the longer lifespan that was used to justify the change in the first place. This is the actual mechanism of the trap. It's marketed as a neutral, fair, longevity-based adjustment. In practice, it disproportionately falls on the people with the least cushion to absorb it. And it might happen again. Here's why this matters right now, not just historically. Social Security's trust fund reserves are projected to be depleted around 2035. After that point, the system would only be able to pay out roughly 80 to 83% of scheduled benefits using ongoing tax revenue alone, unless Congress acts. One of the most commonly proposed fixes, discussed by the Congressional Budget Office, the Bipartisan Policy Center, and Social Security's own trustees, is raising the full retirement age again. Some proposals call for pushing it from 67 to 68. More aggressive proposals call for pushing it all the way to 70. According to the Brookings Institution, raising the full retirement age to 70 would be economically equivalent to a roughly 20% benefit cut for all new retirees. Not a possibility, a mathematical equivalence. So when you hear politicians talk about modernizing or adjusting the retirement age, I want you to mentally translate that phrase into what it actually means: a benefit cut, dressed up in softer language that's been used successfully once already and is actively being discussed again. Why this specific kind of policy is so effective? Because it's almost elegant from a purely strategic standpoint. Raising the retirement age doesn't show up as a tax increase. It doesn't show up as an obvious benefit cut on anyone's current Social Security statement. It's a slow, decades-long phase-in that most people don't notice happening to them personally until they're the ones standing at the claiming age decision, looking at a smaller number than they expected. Researchers have actually found that people anchor their retirement decisions to government-set benchmarks, meaning when the official retirement age moves, people's actual behavior moves with it, even more than basic economic incentives alone would predict. In other words, the policy doesn't just change the math, it quietly reshapes when people think they're supposed to retire in the first place. What this means for your strategy. So what do you actually do with this information? First, don't treat the published full retirement age as some kind of sacred, optimal number for you personally. It's a policy lever, not a personalized recommendation. The right claiming age for you depends on your own health, your own family longevity, your own financial situation, not on whatever number Congress landed on in 1983 or whatever number they might land on next. Second, if you're younger and further from retirement, pay close attention to any further full retirement age increases that get proposed. Based on the equivalence numbers we just covered, every additional year added to that number is roughly another 7% reduction in your eventual benefit at any claiming age. That's not a small thing to plan around. Third, and this is the most important point, don't let the existence of this trend talk you out of claiming Social Security strategically. The system, even with these adjustments, is still a powerful piece of a retirement plan. Understanding how the trap works just means you go in with your eyes open, instead of anchoring blindly to whatever age the government currently tells you is full. I want to be clear about something before we wrap up. I'm not telling you this to make you angry or to push a political position. I'm telling you this because understanding the actual mechanism behind these policy changes makes you a sharper, more strategic planner. The full retirement age isn't a finish line set by people who have your personal best interest in mind. It's a financing lever, adjusted periodically to manage the system's solvency. And historically, it's been adjusted in a way that quietly cuts benefits without ever using that word. If this opened your eyes to something you hadn't connected before, let me know in the comments, and tell me what you think the next move in Washington is going to be. And if you're new here, consider subscribing, because every week I break down the real mechanics behind the retirement system here on Wealth Logic. I'll see you in the next episode.